I'm in the hole over $6 million. Something's wrong, right? And I work with every professional marketer you can think of, sales guru, conversion rate optimization. I was just basically at the lowest slums of that business. I'm like, dude, this needs to turn around or we're going to lose everything.
What is the actual route to success? What is the route to an American man, leader, husband, father? What does that look like over the next 10 years?
We came in, replaced their whole process using AI, and they fired 160 of their staff, and we took them from 40 million a year to 200 million a year.
Were you taking advantage of these AI tools and AI developer tools, or do you think that the cost of launching that would be much lower now?
If you want to be a part of the laggards and wait until your grandma is asking you about it and decide to get in, you're going to miss out on a lot of market share because time in business compounds.
All right, boys, we got Douglas James in the house, founder and CEO of leadfi.ai. Doug, what's up?
How's it going, Mark? Thanks for having me, man.
Doug, happy to have you here. I mean, I'm just looking over your resume, and this is one of the reasons I keep doing the show is because I get to sit down with bosses like you. You grew your consulting business to $70 million, profitably spent over $25 million in ads. That's very impressive. Congrats.
Thank you very much. It's been quite the journey.
I'm sure. My father was a Navy guy as well, so I appreciate your service. Glad to kind of share that with you. So you grew listen, you spent $25 million on ads. That's not a small number. At what point did you realize that there was a problem with properly qualifying the leads coming into your sales pipeline?
Yeah, a good question. It's actually over 30 million at this point across all of our businesses. But I mean, I started doing lead generation, like 11 years ago. I was still active duty in the military. I was working with local businesses, helping them get customers from Facebook and Google. And then found out that a lot of veterans and people that I was serving with also wanted to know how to make money. I remember I had a Master Chief come up to me. He was in the Navy for 25 years. He was 45 years old. And he's like, hey, man, I'm getting out next month. How do you do what you do? I went home, recorded a course. He gave me $900. I put it in Dropbox. Worst course you've ever seen, probably. And he landed a client the following weekend making $1,000 a month. So I went on to scale that to high multiple 8 figures. And there was a point where we were spending about $1 million a month on ads. So we serviced over 15,000 clients, and I had packages all the way from $5,000 up to $55,000. So we were selling really high ticket. And when you're selling high ticket like that at those price points, sales don't happen one call close, not even 2 call close. There's maybe less than 10% of your sales that might come from something like that. But a lot of our sales cycle was drawn out. It could be 4 to even 8 weeks at times where we talk to somebody for his first time and they don't close for a month or 2. Right. And that could have been, maybe they were doing due diligence. Maybe they were skeptical. A lot of times they had to raise the money. Right. So what we did was we created our own funding company, basically, and our own credit education company, where when somebody came in, we actually educated them on their credit, how to access their report, how to raise capital, all of those things. So we actually would help and advise people on how to do this stuff. And that would help us actually generate more revenue. And, through that, a lot more people were able to sign up with us. So, I would attribute probably 40% of my revenue came from that. That's why today, when I'm consulting other business owners that are selling high ticket online, it's like, dude, if you're not offering funding strategically, you could be leaving half of the money on the table. I got one offer on LeadFi doing $1 million a month, and literally 80% of that revenue is coming through our strategic funding waterfall that we created. So anyway, I tell you all that because I just remember about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, where, time's moving on here. LeadFi's over a year old now, but I just remember, Q1, it was red, right? Q2 red. I couldn't look at my P&L month to month because I knew 2 months out of the quarter was going to be red, but we would have this big explosive month. But we had Q1 red, Q2 red. I'm like, crap, I'm in the hole over $6 million. Something's wrong, right? And I work with every professional marketer you can think of, sales guru, conversion rate optimization. people. Marketing attribution software is some AI, a lot of AI tech actually too, marketing solutions. And at the time, it wouldn't work for us, So I found my partner Eric. I remember I was just basically at the lowest slums of that business. I'm like, dude, this needs to turn around, or we're going to lose everything. So I got introduced to my partner Eric, and he's been in the finance world for about 15 or so years and underwriting for banks. And I go to him, I'm like, hey, man, we want to soft credit pull people right when they opt into our funnel. We just have name, email, phone. Is it possible? He's like, basically, no, because you need address, date of birth, and all those things to get that information from the credit bureaus. And so we have a AI company with like 20 PhDs on staff as well in my other company. So we all basically got together and we found a solution where we created the only identity resolution identity verification, proprietary patent technology that can take a name, email, phone number, go through a true identity process, figure out who they are, collect all their sensitive data, and perform a soft credit pull in real time using just name, email, phone number. So now we're able to get, their exact credit score, exactly how much money they can spend on their credit cards right now in their wallet. We get their annual income and their debt to income ratio. And the kicker here is we also deliver a pre-approval for additional funding. Now, this piece of data is really unique. This is what allows us to do this legally and compliantly. So we're actually pre-screening leads as they come through. This is the same thing that banks do to send us all in the United States pre-approved credit cards in the mail. I just got one yesterday. Right. So we get these credit cards all the time. Hey, you're pre-approved for 50K, 100K, get your card today. Banks are sending us these offers, right? Because they're running our credit. And did we opt in or give consent? No. So whenever somebody opts into your funnel or your website, if you wanted to use this, there's no checkbox consent required. The user does not have a checkbox saying, hey, I want my soft credit pull. However, there is language and terminology that must go on your privacy policy around the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which we give our clients. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the story of, how I got here, where I came from and how I got here. So,
I mean, it's pretty interesting the way that we can solve problems in real time for our businesses. And it's funny how that turned into such a big business for you. One of the things that I'm curious about, you mentioned that the official launch was about a year ago. And I was talking to another colleague friend of mine, and we were talking about software development and how historically it's a massive risk. You have to put your entire life savings on the line. You're pulling credit on your house. Everything is going on the line. But AI and software development, AI is making big strides in software development. When you were developing LeadFi.ai, were you taking advantage of these AI tools and AI developer tools, or do you think that the cost of launching that would be much lower now? Would your risk of launching LeadFi.ai be a lot lower now?
Yeah, I think AI certainly, it's in the name of the website, right? So there's certainly AI that's involved. What's funny is, we talk a lot about programs like ChatGPT. Everyone uses ChatGPT. There's a lot of like these softwares now, but AI is, technically knows more about you than can know about yourself. What's funny is in our sales process for many, many years, and a lot of high ticket offers that I work with, they'll have people fill out an application, right? Obviously they're asking for their name, email, phone, but they're also asking, hey, what do you do for a living? What's your income, right? What's your estimated credit, right? And people will lie on these applications or not, or be completely clueless as to what their finances and credit even look like. So you're trying to optimize marketing and marketing campaigns, ad campaigns, and sales processes with data that what we found after 100,000 records is only 50% accurate because people lie. For example, and this is just LeadFi is just one case of this using AI, basically gives you the exact credit and financial information on every lead. So now you know who's being honest and who's lying. And then you know which of your sales reps aren't good closers and complaining about leads, and which ones are actually good closers, right? And which media buyers can run the right traffic. We can actually help supercharge the pixel as well. So yeah, I mean, AI is definitely taking things by storm. LeadFi is just one example. For example, in our other AI company, we're actually helping AI enable a lot of these, old school businesses. And what's crazy is it's not that expensive. Now what's the access to the knowledge that you need, like for example, ChatGPT, it's amazing. People get really caught up about, oh, I don't know how to use ChatGPT. How do I get, what I need and prompts and all that? I need to go pay this AI guru 20 grand for his prompt course or whatever, right? Look, I'm not saying there's not experts in AI that have great prompts. I'm sure they did a lot of work to find those prompts. But if you really want to get to the bottom of whatever the problem is you're trying to solve using AI, just talk to ChatGPT like a normal human being. It's not a human being, but talk to them like they are, and it will actually build you the prompts and the things that you need. Right? There's Gemini. There's all these different ones. There's the meta version. So yeah, this technology is super cool. And like for example, I'll give you another example here. But what we're able to do in our other AI company, we have a search traffic arbitrage business that came to us, and they had 200 employees. They're doing 40 million a year. We basically duplicated their whole process that they use. And search traffic arbitrage is basically when you buy a keyword on Google seconds or milliseconds before someone that's running traffic on there, and then you resell it at a premium. So basically, we came in, replaced their whole process using AI, and they fired 160 of their staff, and we took them from 40 million a year to 200 million a year. Now they're positioning for a 10-figure exit. So that's the type of possibilities, but you have to have access to that, right? We have a team of 20 PhDs. Do you need that? No, we all have AI in our pocket, so you just have to be resourceful.
I mean, I think this is something that most people, most Americans at least, are not ready for, is this mass transition from human labor to AI and automation type labor. I mean, I think it was Goldman Sachs just estimated 300 million jobs displaced over the next 5 years, which is a pretty absurd number. What role do you see, let's just say, let's start with a problem that I'm trying to solve for one of my clients right now. What role do you see AI call bots, AI phone dialers playing in a role over the next 12 months?
Dude, that is like massive for marketing and sales, or, small businesses as a whole. You know, um, I think that that's probably one of the biggest opportunities. And actually, I know people right now that are making a lot of money by just going into businesses, small businesses, even mid-sized businesses, and saying, "Hey, I'm going to AI enable," kind of like what we're doing, but on a lower scale, where they're taking their customer service lines, they're taking all their emails and their forms, their leads coming in from the website, and all they're doing is creating an AI plugged into OpenAI's ChatGPT or something like that, and conversating with all these leads, right? And that's literally, companies are able to save a lot of money on payroll. Now that's taken a ton of jobs away at the same time. I think Microsoft just reported last week that they laid off 7,000 people, yet Microsoft is at an all-time high in their company stock right now. So does that mean more people is required, more talented people? No, it's people that are using AI more effectively is what's going to keep your job. So if you're worried about your job, if you're worried about AI coming in and taking over the market, you really need to adopt these strategies. So yeah, 100%. We use call bots, we use text bots, but actually now with the generative AI, it could respond and you could talk to them just like we're talking right now. You won't even know the difference if you get a text message from me and you're talking to my AI. It'll sound just like me. You can train these modules. We have a program called, I don't have an affiliate link or anything. I don't make any money from this, but there's a company called HeyGen, right? So you can go to HeyGen, and let's say you have course material or training videos, or onboarding material that you use for your team, videos that they watch, to come in as an SOP. And let's say you're English based, but you're opening up a Spanish department or Italian department. You can upload all of that training material to HeyGen and say, "Hey, I want you to translate this and make it look like I'm speaking Spanish and sound just like me." And you click a button and boom, all your videos are now in Spanish, and it's you speaking Spanish fluently, right? So these are technologies that I think we really need to get your head around to stay ahead of the game, because every minute that goes by and you're not adopting this, you're going to lose out on a lot of market share.
100%. I couldn't agree anymore. I mean, we're actually applying the HeyGen to one of my clients' businesses right now. I was just been following Anik Anik Sangal, I think is his last name, a big marketer. He's just posting all AI generated videos of him doing these talking head videos. Historically, that's what I would do for clients. We'd produce their podcast, we'd cut up a bunch of clips, we'd produce a bunch of stuff. But that kind of skill set isn't really that relevant anymore with a program like Hey Gen, where you can just create an AI avatar of someone and create tons and tons of AI internet slop, for lack of a better term. I do have a question about the workforce because I think it's interesting to kind of take that Microsoft idea a step further. Over the past 3 months, they actually laid off 10% of their American-based workforce. Like you said, it was 7,000 this month. So they've been laying off people like crazy. Meanwhile, they've invested $3 billion in infrastructure in India, and they have a plan to upskill 10 million Indian workers. So what do you say to that American who's getting laid off, who knows he has to compete against someone who will do his job for 10 to 15 bucks an hour? What is the actual route to success? What is the route to an American man, leader, husband, father? What does that look like over the next 10 years?
Man, I gotta tell you, it's going to be tough. And it's hard to hear that too. Cause I know there's a lot of families here in the US. I can only think of like also my veteran community. I got my uniform hanging up here, I work with a ton of veterans. I mean, we've worked with over 10,000 veterans over the last 10 years. So, I mean, I know a lot of those guys are coming out, and the government, their systems and their softwares and, their CRMs, whatever you want to call them, are so behind the ball and outdated. Yet, so they're coming in with really no skills. I mean, dude, short story. When I was getting out the Navy, I had to go through a class called TAPS. It's a week-long class. Every military active duty person that's getting out goes through this class TAPS. And what they do for a week is they teach you how to apply for a job, write a resume, create a LinkedIn profile, make sure all your information's on there, just getting you ready for the civilian work sector. Right. And dude, going through that, it's so outdated. The most advanced thing that was in there was just mentioning LinkedIn.
Oh my goodness.
to me, and by then, dude, I was already doing 6 figures a month, active duty, still serving, showing up to in my uniform every day. But anyway, yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, that's why I served that community so much in my consulting company, because I saw a need for them, to transition into the online space. Right. So obviously the internet is not a luxury anymore. It's a necessity. AI might have been a luxury in early 2023. Now it's a necessity. Like, you need to not be thinking about, oh, if I use AI, it's like me driving a Rolls Royce. No, it's like it's getting to the point where like it's like you're driving a Toyota, right? But it's not there yet. There's still so many people that haven't fully adopted, right? So yeah, dude, and here's the thing, dude, I've probably worked with over a couple hundred people overseas, over the last 10 years. And yeah, you can get laborers and people to do amazing work, graphics, web design, HTML, JSON, like all kinds of stuff overseas for a fraction of what you would pay here in the States. So I think, Americans knowing that's already the mentality here, right? Because we're all trying to cut costs. Being in business is expensive. There's a massive fee into being in business. And then if you tack on advertising, you tack on, payroll, all the things, we're trying to figure out how to save as much money as possible and maximize profits, but still take care of people at the same time. So if you want to be valuable here in the United States, you really got to get in a company and say, how can I increase the bottom line here? Right? I need to make 30, 40, $50 an hour or whatever it is that I need to make per hour to take care of my family. If I'm making this money, how can I bring more value to this company? Not just, set up their website, not just do this and that, but how do I have a direct tie to their bottom line? I think, businesses, service-based businesses, anything that you do, even if it's simple as creating a logo, how is that going to increase the bottom line? People are really afraid to talk about money, to talk about growth. They just want to, collect their fee, provide their service, whatever it is. But we're looking for, how are you going to help me make more money at the end of the day? That's the most valuable thing. Like, if you look at the most valuable things that people pay the most money for, it's it's usually one of these three things. Is it going to help me make more money? Is it going to help me get a six-pack abs? Is it going to help me have better sex with my wife, or even save my marriage? Right. So health, fitness, and wealth are really the three main pillars in anything that we're looking to spend a lot of money in, if it has a direct correlation on improving that sector of our life. So, and that's why you see also, man, I think every single day there's like 100 new millionaires or something in the United States. Like every single day we're printing millionaires, right? And it's because people get it. People are tapping into the online digital economy, but it has shifted. It's shifted. First it was the internet, then it was social media, now it's AI. That's how I see it. Like if you were buying .com websites back in 2000 and you stayed in the game the last 25 years, you should be rich today, right? If you got into the internet at its hype, or I'm sorry, the social media at its hype with Facebook in 2010 to 2015, which is where I first started. I've been running ads on Facebook since clicks were cool. Like, that's how long. You can't optimize ads for clicks anymore. What does it care about? Conversions, sales conversions. Is this campaign making me money or not? If it's making me money, spend more money on it. If it's not making money, cut the campaign. Let's launch a new campaign. So now it's AI, right? That's the next thing. So you got to figure out how to be valuable here in the US to these companies that want to maximize profits. If you can do it in the health and wellness space, great. If you can help people save their marriages, personal development's really big as well. People know they need to be speaking about themselves better, developing a better mindset for success. Those are all great areas, I think. But yeah, it's going to be hard to compete with, overseas and AI unless you're adopting those strategies and improving bottom lines for people's life and making their life better here in the US.
I think that's a great answer. And one of the things that I started doing with all of my clients, anyone I'm working with, and I was inspired by Elon Musk, may have heard of him, little guy. Anyway, Elon did this thing when he started Doge, was he sent out a memo to all the government employees and say, what do you do? Write it down on a sheet of paper. And so every time I send a invoice to a client, if it's a boutique style customer, I say, hey, this is what got done this last month. This is what we got planned for the next month. And to your point, if you can't make that connection between the money, health, or relationship, I just think you're going to have a hard time standing out in those companies. And quite frankly, the amount of employers that are requiring some sort of AI skill set is increasing dramatically. Gosh, I recorded a video earlier today on this, and it was something like a 250% increase over the last couple of years in employers looking for AI skills. It just seems, but at the same time, Doug, I think that it's so big and so unknown that people are just afraid to do anything, and they're just putting their head in the sand and saying, I can't think about it. I just want to relax. But I just, gosh, man, I think this is the biggest tidal wave that's about to just swamp hundreds of millions of Americans, specifically men too. Not that women aren't important, but men, we have a need to be respected and valued, I think. And if we lose that because a robot can make 100 calls a minute without sleeping or using the restroom, I just feel like there's a big tidal wave that's about to hit a lot of men, fathers, leaders in the country.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think men are on the attack nonstop. I mean, we fight the battles and the wars that, people don't see, right? We'll suffer in silence and put our head down and get things knocked out. If it wasn't for our women and our wives, to take care of the home and the kids and make sure the meals are hot, that would be a struggle. So, I agree. It's coming, but I think, it really ties back to, I think, what I originally said. You have to try to figure out how to be valuable in this new economy that's coming. And I think it's all, general warfare, and the whole idea of like being, it's like that whole mentality of this is how we've always done it, having that mindset is like anything is going to wreck you. Like, for example, I wish I can go back to 2012 when I was stationed in Naples, Italy, and I was in the Navy. And I remember seeing a random article online on Google somewhere, and it said the word Bitcoin. And I was like, what is that? I was like, I had no idea that when I read that that was an opportunity where I could have created some extreme wealth, because I think Bitcoin back then might have been 100 or under $100 a coin. Look at it today; it just hit an all-time high at 113,000 as of this moment, right? So, there's inevitable technologies and inevitable things that are going to come along. It's all process of the diffusion of innovation. If you need a book to knock you out at night, read that book, because the language is heavy, but everything goes through this. The internet went through it, right? In 1999, there was newspaper clippings of people saying, hey, the internet's a fad. You'll never order groceries. You'll never date people. You never get directions on your travels. Now look at us today, right? Same thing with social media when it rolled out. Same thing initially with AI. But all these technologies and all these things are inevitably going to be massively adopted, right? So if you want to be a part of the laggards and wait until your grandma is asking you about it and decide to get in, you're going to miss out on a lot of market share. But if you get in early and take advantage and stay in the game long enough, because time in business compounds, right? I've worked with so many people that are just starting out in business, and they're like, man, I want to have that million a month success. Man, I want to have the Rolls Royce. I want to have the jet. I want to have all these things. And they look at and idolize all of these people that have those things, but you got to look at their track record. How long have they been in business? What are the things that they build? What were their struggles and their failures, right? The average entrepreneur fails in business 13 times before they actually find something that works for them, right? I've failed. I found businesses that have worked, but I failed multiple times along that process, and I'm still in business because I've stayed in the game. So staying in the game and letting time compound and learning from your mistakes is really important, and just taking action and getting off the couch and saying, no, I demand better lifestyle for me and my family. I need to take advantage of these opportunities. And I think you'll survive the wave that's coming.
Yeah, I do think that the chaos is real, but within the chaos comes lots of opportunity. When everyone's fearful, it's time to be greedy. When everyone's greedy, it's maybe time to be fearful. I do know that, I think there's a lot of people out there that kind of see AI as a fad, or it's not real, or it's NFTs 2.0, but it is different. It's kind of like when you've actually experienced a miracle, you become a believer in God. I'm not going to say AI is God, but I've had certain experiences with AI where I was like, the world will never be the same. And I just try to kind of, on one side, try to scare people into seeing that, realization, which is why when you talk about layoffs and big numbers, I think that's important, but also bring some hope as well with some of these processes and strategies that you've laid down here. So, listen, guys, we got to be respectful of Douglas, man. He's running a multi-million-dollar company. I got to let him go. You got to reach out to him. You definitely got to check him out at leadfi.ai, because, guys, with a name, phone number, and email, it is going to do credit screening for you. It's going to be your SQL right there. I mean, what do you have to lose, guys? Check it out.
Appreciate that, Mark. Thank you for having me, man. It was an honor.
Yeah. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate you, bro.